Welcome to Ahead of the Game, a podcast brought to you by the Digital Marketing Institute. I'm your host, Will Francis. Today, I'm going to be talking to Ernest Cantillon, all about building awareness and attention around a product or brand. That top of funnel that, in truth, is most businesses' biggest problem. Ernest is co-founder of Black Emerald Irish Whiskey. He's COO at LYQD, Ireland's first digital exchange for whiskey casks, amongst many other things that he's built audiences and attention around, and we're going to talk all about that. Ernest, welcome to the podcast.
Great, thanks, Will. Looking forward to this. Haven't done something like this in a while, so enjoying having a trip down memory lane and a kick around a few of the things I've done.
I'm basically going to scrape the insides of your brain out and extract the best bits and give them to our audience. Look, I'm a marketing educator, and all I can say is I'm meeting marketers week in, week out, and I think that the biggest problem most companies have is not enough people are thinking about them, not enough people know about them. So I'd love to hear. Firstly, what's your take on that? What do you want to achieve when you try and build attention or awareness around something?
We have a bar, and it's funny, the law of unintended consequences. We never would have done a whole lot of email marketing because we never would have had many emails. But because COVID, everyone had to make a reservation. Suddenly we ended up with a big database of emails of people who actually had been to our premises and presumably, hopefully, liked the room. We could see how many times they came. While bookings in that sense have dropped off, the people still come and it's busy, thank God, but they don't. That kind of COVID requirement to booking is gone. But we have a very good database. Sober Lane, that's the name of the pub. It's in Cork, in Ireland. We don't do a huge amount of social media. We dip in and out of it, but we have a really good reaction and conversion rate and all that with email marketing, which is something that probably isn't that sexy anymore, or maybe and maybe when it was peak a couple of years ago, maybe I wasn't using it, but for me now it's a good one.
I suppose in some ways you could say that email is something in the middle because it does convert well, but it just keeps people, it nurtures them, doesn't it, over time. And they might as long as you're putting something interesting in your emails, I'm happy to receive them, but I might not convert, i.e. book, for another few months. But you've kept that relationship alive. That's what it's about, right?
Yeah, and we largely limit it to the big ticket things. What I mean by that is that it's not come and enjoy Sober Lane. It's so a lot of people like to get the Christmas parties booked before they go on holidays themselves. So for us, the busiest times for Christmas parties being booked are kind of May and September. And a Christmas party is worth anything from €500 to say €5,000 for us. So when our email locks in and says, I know it's early, but trust us, lock down your date and get it boxed down. We're kind of solving a problem for them. It's a real call to action, and we've the packages. We kind of know the information that they want there. We don't give them too many options, but we've a good price range. WhatsApp business is the one I'm trying to get my head around at the moment. I feel this. I find at any one time I have 50 unread emails. When I said unread emails that I have read but have marked to come back to, which isn't a great system, but anyway. Whereas I would never close out the day with unread WhatsApp. There'll be a tipping point where there'll be too many businesses on WhatsApp and it will get treated the same as email. But at the moment, there's a sweet spot there, getting bogged down with the API side of it and what we can and can't do. But that's of particular interest for me at the moment. And I want to say that across the businesses. So my focus is kind of three things. I have a very traditional pub. We sell bar and food and drinks. I have a whiskey brand called Black Emerald, and most of our focus is online in increasing amount of markets. And then I have an online platform where people can buy and sell. It's both B2B and B2C casks, but the minimum transaction is kind of maybe €2,000 or €3,000. So it's up to a couple of million euros if it's a lot of stock. So everything from selling one drink to thousands of drinks in one lot. But I can see now WhatsApp business, how it will be relevant for all of them in different ways.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, a big part of digital marketing is moving with the new things because, like you say, there is a period, there's a window of time where it's well established, but it's not saturated, and WhatsApp's there right now.
Yeah.
And if you're not the kind of person you are, and you're not kind of using those platforms, you're always turning up too late when it's just oversaturated.
Yeah, and it's funny. Maybe I'm actually in very few WhatsApp groups, so any group that is the neighbor association, the parent association, I'm just not in it, or it's muted. So maybe maybe that's what will happen to Sober Lane ones. I don't know, maybe people mute them. So maybe it's just I'm seeing it through rose-tinted glasses. But I feel there is,
Yeah.
I feel if we deliver enough value through it, and we've, as I said, it's funny, our business has flipped. I mean, it says my office is in Sober Lane, and it's probably the
Mm.
one we've done. It's been the one that I've had most control input over the marketing, and we've done a lot of interesting things over the years. And it's my baby, to be honest. I'm here 20 years and I love it. And so we've got good at, previously for me, pubs in general, hospitality, and us, is that you would have a regular business, and then functions were the bonus. You know, Christmas parties and 21st
Yeah.
birthdays, whatever else. It is flipped now that people don't. We don't need to go down the rabbit hole of the third spaces, but I think Starbucks and coffee shops stole an opportunity that pubs had. Pubs were that third space. You're at home, you're in work, or if you're out, you were in the pub. Not even necessarily drinking, although they probably were. Whereas now, that, like, if you had a meeting, even in Ireland, like, politicians would hold what they'd call their clinics in pubs. And people's attitude, relationship to alcohol has changed. But
I mean, it literally means public house.
Public house, yeah, it's just a place you could actually go.
Yeah.
And that now has changed in lots of ways. And I think WhatsApp Business would be the way to, you're going out this weekend, here's a discount code, or I don't even think it's about discount codes. I think,
Yeah, I suppose that's the thing with hospitality. Is there a way to give people content in a place like WhatsApp or social media that isn't always a promotional call to action? Is there a place for a cocktail recipe or something, or
I don't know if there was always a connection. I was involved in a gin brand before. It was called Kinsale Gin. It's still going. I've exited the business, but a friend of mine still owns it. And I would have been very involved in the marketing of it and the launch of it. And I'm really proud of what we did. And we did a lot of that content, just pretty pictures to be very general. And then recipes and cocktails and videos of how they'd make those recipes at home and that kind of stuff. And I think people thought, geez, that's cool. Yeah, I'll make whatever gin is in the cupboard, or I'll make it with my favorite gin if it didn't have to be Kinsale Gin. I think unless you're a big brand who can constantly be given those cues, you know what I mean? Reminding people, which is expensive and takes a long time. You can't say, buy my product all the time. So you just need to break it up.
Well, that's it.
Yeah. But it's funny. So with Black Emerald, we post a lot now about music and bars we like. And there isn't really particular call to action. We're involved in some of those bars, like we're stocked in some of them. Yeah. In lots of them we aren't. They're in countries we don't sell in at all. But they're bars we'd like to be stocked in, and they're the kind of bars that we like. Same with the music, just the music we like.
So it seems a form of networking for you, because those bars will see that you're tagging them in your posts and stuff.
And you know what? That is part of it, but to be honest, some of them are such far-flung places, and particularly with the music, no connection with these music artists. We'd say we'd love to send you a bottle. No need for a post or anything like that, just, keep up the good work, like your music. Some of them reply, some of them post, and some of them don't. But I suppose it kind of creates a vibe. Thankfully, there is younger, far more tuned-in people on the team, and they're all about the analytics and the data and unconverted leads and cost per click. And I get there has to be a science part to it too, but in the same breath, it needs to be interesting content or pleasant looking content, at least, you know what I mean?
There's a million better things to do online than look at poor 100%. Content.
And for me, the LinkedIn, I enjoy posting on it selfishly, my own posts, but I do find it's a great way to if you want to know the buyer in a certain liquor chain or whatever else, it's a good way to.
Oh yeah.
And I found in general people reply on LinkedIn when you message them.
Yeah.
So social media is and as I said, I use that as a catch-all for online marketing, email marketing. Is I fall in and out of love with it. It is a necessary evil, but a Freudian slip there. But it is. I know. LYQD, the business we haven't really chatted about, is the one where we're selling, I suppose, large amounts of whiskey to people who either want to maybe treat it as a financial player and an investment, or to brands like a B2B play. And the team there are very into HubSpot, and they've all sorts of different flows and customers around all different journeys, and they've really gone into the data of it. And it is very interesting. Like, nobody really falls between the cracks. If you've any interaction with us, somebody on the team will contact you and will follow up.
One thing I'm always really interested in is, driving awareness for a whiskey, like Black Emerald whiskey, is you immediately know what it is. You see a bottle, it's got
Yeah.
whiskey written on it. There's no questions, right?
It does what it says in the tin. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
Right. How do you go about generating awareness for something that needs a bit of education?
Yeah, it is a very good point. And we have an education flow on it. So there's a funnel that if
Mm,
somebody is curious and wants to learn more, and to be honest, part of that is dictated by their potential spend. So if this is
yeah.
somebody who is looking to release their own whiskey, or they're, a supermarket who release their own different whiskies, want to do a 10-year-old malt, they're going to be a big customer.
Mm,
We'll do the education like this. I'll talk to them, I'll answer all their questions, I'll do follow-ups. Whereas somebody who may be a customer in the future but is curious, we'll sign them up for the newsletter, and try and figure out what we can do to move them along that flow. But we just don't have the time or the resources to necessarily take them on that journey. I do think physical events definitely are back in fashion.
yeah.
So we have done a few events, and we had a number of people who we had, I'd call them warm leads, or potentially warm leads,
Mm,
and definitely meeting them in person converted them or moved them certainly further along the flow. So this weekend
yeah.
there's a big whiskey festival expo, but it's a B2C event. 50 other businesses are all selling bottles of whiskey there, so we're probably one of the only people with a slightly different angle. The other exhibitors are as much relevant for me as the attendees, so that's a
Yeah.
useful one to get at them in that way. Um, and it is just, I think when there's so many business online and there's fear of scams, and I think physically meeting someone definitely bumps up. You can have all your
Yeah.
verified by Meta blue ticks, but if you meet somebody in person, gut feeling is still a big thing. You know what I mean?
Oh
I
yeah.
think you meet somebody, they're real. You think there's a bit of accountability there. You like them, or at least you say, yeah, this person knows their stuff. You're asking them person questions, and they don't have time to go off and ask ChatGPT. Like they're on the spot. It's that little 60-second quiz.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely I'm feeling that in the air.
It's funny. I LinkedIn is the only one that I really use, right? And I said I almost use it like journaling or something like that, right? I
Wow.
have thoughts that I put out there on it, and
Mm,
I was walking down a street in Cork City recently, and there's a massive city centre church that's closing,
mm,
and I popped my head in and I just put Cork City is unusual, doesn't have an event centre, so I said, geez, this building would make a great event centre.
mm.
I just thought of it, posted it. But it got, I wouldn't say it went viral, but I got lots of comments and emails, people saying, how can we come together and do this? And I
Wow.
kind of, it was great, but also I was like, geez, I really just meant it as it's one of those things, I would love somebody else to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't take this on.
You know what I mean? So I have a number of emails I must go back to and politely say, look, yeah, great, my own plate is full, but I hope it happens. Or, like they were very good put together emails from urban planners or people with
Mm,
event companies. But it just generated a bit of traffic that I hadn't necessarily intended. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
And they're good, nice, well-meaning interactions. But so some of it is kind of wielding it carefully. You know what I mean? Like if I was trying to sell something and there was a lot of thought gone into it, probably wouldn't have got half or a quarter of the traction. You know what I mean? It just
Well, that's it. I think so much of our success is accidental. A lot of marketers want to do everything perfectly and they're terrified of anything failing.
yeah.
So in that context, what's your take on experimentation and failure in business and in marketing?
Well, it's funny. COVID was an unusual time in that it was a time you could try anything, and some of them
Mm,
worked, and then they only worked because it was COVID. So with
yeah,
that restaurant in particular was called Electric. It was a quite a big bar and restaurant, our bar and two restaurants, upstairs split in two, and it had been a busy, successful, fairly traditional offering. We did a lot of corporate business and tourists, and um, we had it for 10 years, and it probably needed to be freshened up or was going to lose ground. So I made a decision during COVID, and I kind of felt that I could see that like COVID didn't end overnight, if you know what I mean. There was a chance
oh yeah,
to see things are going. So I felt that tourists and particularly corporates would be the last back. I could see people working from home, and that was going to take a while. That trend had started a bit anyway, maybe. But so we the restaurants that I liked going to in London in particular, where I think is some of the best restaurants in the world, were Asian.
yeah,
Uh, so I made the decision to convert it to Asian. which was a pretty big departure from what had been doing. And we gave it our best shot. It was a spectacular failure. It just did not get traction at all. And we did two things. We alienated our existing customers, whereas in hindsight, maybe we could have taken them on this journey, maybe made half upstairs Asian, or maybe kept the bar as it was, or that was one side of it. And we failed to garner new customers. So we really fell between two stools. So, and it's unusual maybe for a business to fail for a combination of reasons, but that probably was the single biggest one. I gave it a lot of thought. I think we had a very good offering. We then tried to change back, and then, okay, you could. It was a very a lot of our profits came from the summer outside area, and then that summer happened to be a very wet summer, so we just didn't catch a break with that. I thought that sometimes just a change was as good of a rest, and that momentum would be enough. I probably overlooked what we had. I probably wanted 20% extra turnover. That's what I was chasing. But I probably didn't give enough credence to the turnover that we had. I just kind of assumed that these people would come on this journey. It wouldn't be for everyone, but I thought it would be for most of them, and it wasn't. And maybe, I know marketing is a bit different to market research. Again, it was COVID, so it was a tricky time to kind of get that. And also, yeah, it was making decisions in a vacuum.
But how do you feel about it now? I mean, what I'm saying is, are you glad that you tried something, even though it failed?
Sorry, absolutely. So I've tried lots of things over the years. I've had more winners than losers. I'm lucky. I've made an effort to be in business with people as opposed to my own. The restaurant was, and funny enough, I had partners originally, and I bought them out, and we got on very well. Maybe I should have get them to stay, but and to be fair, they were risk takers too. I could have seen us going on that same journey together, but I'm a big believer in that butterfly effect as well. You can't, I think, cherry pick parts of your life and say, I wish this happened, but that didn't happen. You can't, for me anyway. So, like I met my wife there, for example. So I kind of think if I didn't do that project, would I have met her? But no, I had 10 great years there. I had a very interesting year coming out of COVID. And then I had 2 torrid years, really wretched years, which are definitely the hardest that I've ever done. It's funny, closing a business is tricky because it's you have the emotional part of, okay, call it quits, and then you turn out the lights, but there's a lot of unwinding, you know what I mean, and loose ends. But Cork is quite a small city, and everybody knows each other, and that is mostly a very good thing for me anyway. I've always kind of marketed the businesses previously as like, me first, this is what I am doing, and you support me in this previous endeavor, and you might like this now, and kind of trading on my reputation, which I hope is somewhat good. So I've learned my lesson with that, I think, in that's very limiting when you're outside of Cork. As we chatted about before, you said you've international listeners. They won't know where Cork is, or won't know the nuances of it. So with Black Emerald and LYQD, they're very much not built on me because it's not enough, and they're big enough to stand on their own. But when you do something and you're to the front of it and it doesn't work, I suppose it's very embarrassing. It's humiliating. I think it would have been a hindsight to realize people have enough going on in their own life. But at the time, you think, oh my God, everybody's looking and talking about me. And also, because you need to get on with the next project and with life in general, there definitely is there's a grieving process. You tried something and it didn't work. You don't really have the time or the headspace to necessarily want to sit with it, but you need to. You know what I mean? That marketing.
Would it change the way that you did something in future? Would you sort of take more of a backseat personally because of that, or is it not knocked you back in that way?
I suppose everything I do now has partners in it, business partners, and I'm not the CEO of the project. So I suppose when I'm probably doubling down on the parts of it that I'm good at, and realizing the parts that I amn't. I think in hospitality, invariably, they're nearly always driven by one owner operator, maybe, and that very much, like these businesses are reasonably new. The ones LYQD and Black Emerald, Electric was very much my day job. I would have been there all day, every day, and most nights for 10 years, and I loved it.
And thinking about, I mean, what you're talking about is quite close to the subject of building a personal brand. I don't know if you want to. I don't know how you feel about calling it that.
Yeah.
You know, that is about your personal reputation, your sort of authority, if you like, whatever. how important do you think that is for founders and owner operators to build that personal brand? By which I mean like being quite publicly visible in press, in social media, at events.
I see part of it. I suppose it's hard not to be when you're a startup. Like, who else is going to do it? You know what I mean?
True.
Yeah, and for me, I'm an owner operator, which isn't ideal maybe in three businesses, but in the same breath, I've learned not to be the sole operator of them. So I've more qualified people are share both the risks and the rewards and the stress and the decisions um, of them. So I suppose I'm not a single point of success, or more importantly, a single point of failure. Um, there was a time when I was very much the target market for my products. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
was in
Yeah.
my 20s, and previously I would have been stuck in nightclubs and restaurants, and younger people go out more, that kind of stuff. But other than working, I don't really go to pubs that much anymore. Because I've got kids. There's a time in my life when I went them a lot, and I hopefully will go to them again a lot. But I definitely am there less. So like I'm not the poster child for it. Um, and it's funny, but I still live and breathe it. Like, I love the business side of it. One of the downsides with Black Emerald, our focus is very much DTC online, and COVID has changed that. In Ireland, not so much. Asia, Africa, the US, massively so, also because they've changed laws. So people are now buying particularly more high-end whiskies and alcohol products online, which is great.
Mm.
And owning uh, that customer information and having a direct relationship with them is massive, which never was before. It was very dependent on distributors. But in a bar or a restaurant, like, you get to see the customer feedback straight away. You give them the
Yeah.
drink or the food, and you see whether or not they enjoy it or not. You see if they finished it or not. There is no, it's very clear. Yeah, and more, even
Yeah.
probably more than that, you see if they come back.
How do you harness that in hospitality? That kind of like people enjoy, or maybe I'm thinking too much like a marketer and even wanting to do that. I don't know. But when someone like, oh, that was lovely meal, thank you. As a marketer, I'm like, oh my God, I must harness that and get it, turn it into an online review or a piece of content,
I,
or I don't know.
I,
How do you think about that?
I think one thing that I have found with marketing is that it's nearly always about new customers. But I think, like, okay, it's different if you're a new business starting from zero, but Jesus,
Mm.
protect customers that you have. And it probably would be easier to get them to come more often or spend a little bit more than acquiring a whole new customer. And also, I think if you have happy customers, particularly okay, if you're selling a car or a house, it's tricky to get repeat business. Whereas for
Yeah.
me, somebody's gone out twice a month. You know what I mean? So I hope to see them 4 times a year anyway. You know what I mean? So I think that if in
Mm.
general, if they, you'll get critical mass if they come have a good time. If you look after them, they'll come back. They'll bring friends. They'll bring functions. They'll hopefully tell other people. Absolutely, try and pull in new business. Say if you're a coffee shop, we wouldn't have customers in every day. We'd have customers, not the same customers. But if you're
Yeah.
a coffee shop, or if you're a business home for lunch, there's a good
Yeah.
chance you could see somebody every day.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like, Jesus, they're how much
Mm.
more valuable are they than a potential new customer? I also think there is a, particularly now with AI, and it is so easy to enhance images and, like, don't oversell. So Sober Lane, I've always felt people, we've a very good reaction to our food. And look,
Nice.
I'm biased, but we fried chicken's what we do. We don't do a whole lot else. We really nail the fried chicken. We've been doing it since we opened. Chicken goujons. Um, it's funny, reluctantly, we're starting to call them chicken tenders now because that's actually the word that people are searching for. They're not searching goujons, they're searching tenders, which breaks my heart because tenders completely undersells what we do, right?
Yeah.
Tender for me is like kids menu and McDonald's nuggets. We won't even get into it. So, I don't think it's, there's no such thing as nugget and real chicken. But anyway, um, so sometimes you're dragged along by those changes. But I think that people put up these pictures of this amazing food and these unrealistic feedback. And
Yeah. Of
like,
course.
okay, if you're using that to pull a new customer, like, the experience has got to match up.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's an old saying that the product is the marketing.
Yeah.
And ultimately, a lot of people, and it's when you think about it, it's bonkers that this misconception even exists. But a lot of people have a misconception that regardless of the product, if you just do nice marketing around it, that's what makes a difference and brings people in. But as you say, the product itself, I mean, in theory, if a product's good enough, it doesn't even need any marketing. If it's absolutely sensational, like knocks you off your chair, people will talk about it.
And you'd see Ireland probably is a good example for that because we don't have a lot of population density,
Yeah.
and you will see sometimes you see very good hospitality offerings in particular fail just because they're in place that just don't have critical mass and it's too seasonal. But you'll see some businesses like in really quiet footfall locations, but they just have an excellent product and people keep coming back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's funny, with Black Emerald, there is a temptation to like be a very unique taste. You know what I mean? So really push the boat out and go for like, oh my God, I've never tasted a whiskey like this before.
Mm. How do you get that across, though? How do you tell people that before?
Well, like
Because they've got to make quite a commitment buying it online and waiting for it to arrive.
they do, but a big thing we say is like not for the trophy cabinet, it's for the table, right? So if somebody's collecting whiskies, they buy one. You'd see particularly a lot of collectors in fairs, they'll buy two, one to drink and one to collect.
Yeah.
Great, 2 bottles. But invariably,
Wow.
I want somebody to like it and drink it. Like there's no point in it. Somebody says, I have 600 whiskies. I guarantee there's 600 different whiskies. I want you to consume 600 bottles of Black Emerald, but over your lifetime. Sure, it's premium. It's not the cheapest product. It's not prohibitively expensive. We think it stands out on the shelf. It's a nice aesthetic, but primarily it is nice and easy to drink. It tastes Moorish. Like for me, for a consumable product, that is what you want, isn't it? Moorish.
It is. It is. But I think, a lot of time and money and effort is spent in ad agencies, probably right now as we're speaking, working out how do we get that across to people who haven't got a chance to try our product until they commit to spending money on it and
It's
having it
somewhat
delivered to
wasted.
them.
You'll eventually run out of new customers, no matter how big you are. So
Mm,
I think that it's definitely, if there's a flywheel, you need to get the new customers in. But on the other side, your
yeah,
product needs to deliver. And to be fair, uh, like Scotch is 6 times the Irish whiskey, 6 times the size of Irish whiskey
of
export.
course.
So
Yeah,
it's by far
yeah.
the biggest, right? So
Mm,
so it's not to take away from it, but it is certainly an acquired taste. So for
yeah.
us, we said, geez, for everyone who likes Scotch, there's another whole half of the world who finds it harsh. Like, can we appeal to them? And also, I'm not looking for Irish whiskey drinkers per se. I'm looking for people who drink bourbon, people who drink tequila, people who drink
How do you
wine.
find them?
Oh, sorry, a myriad of things, and I'll tell you in a few years if it's worked. So, um, we have a few, I suppose, useful tools at our disposal. So one of my business partners is a guy called Simon Zebo.
Mm,
Simon played rugby for Ireland and the Lions. And he's a very big profile himself. He's on television internationally most weekends doing commentary. Um,
great.
he's with me since day one. We're from the same neighborhood of Cork, so we know each other. So it's a genuine connection. He very much still epitomizes, like all our products say, a celebration of modern Ireland. It says it on the front. We're really proud of being Irish and really proud that our product is Irish. We're trying to find celebrations where people find occasions where people are celebrating, which is different in every culture. Like we do quite a bit of business in South Africa, and they have
Mm,
braais, which is their version of barbecues, and they drink whiskey at them. They drink hard liquor. Whereas in Ireland, okay, we're not really barbecue. Same as the UK, you're going to have a
yeah,
beer at a barbecue. You're not
yeah,
going to have.
yeah.
Whereas in Australia, like they are drinking hard liquor at the beach. Like it's a whole different thing. So finding out where these people celebrate and getting at that, trying to get into those.
How are they
Uh,
drinking it? Just out of interest.
a lot of people are drinking whiskey in South Africa with a sparkling apple juice, a product I never even heard of, right? In France, certainly like Jameson apple juice would be something I'd serve, but I hadn't seen this. I had never heard of this product at all. But it makes sense if you're encouraging somebody in South Africa to buy a product, like make it familiar to them and localized, rather than
Yeah.
having a beer with. I mentioned a product Sidona. I'm guessing you've never heard of. It's an Irish sparkling apple juice or drink. Like it's like a soft drink, a mineral. But
No, I've seen it. I just didn't know what it
yeah,
was. Yeah.
yeah. But exactly that's the point. So if you saw Black Emerald pair with it, you'd go, that doesn't mean anything to me. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
so trying to like be relative to people. I also think there are like strategic buying opportunities. Like in America, Father's Day, it's a really big day for online alcohol sales. The
Yeah.
2 weeks before, so like
Yeah.
getting the people's attention at the right time is a key thing as well.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. That's really interesting, though. Like rolling out into international markets and presenting your product differently, to those people. Yeah, it's really important for people to think about.
There is not a direct correlation between the most successful marketing things that I've done and the things that I've actually added to the bottom line. Hospitality is a slightly different one because you don't necessarily know why somebody has come to you. It's a bit different. We see Black Emerald. We can see they click the link on the Instagram ad or they reply to the email, right? I was opening a bar in Dublin. We only took job applications through Snapchat. Snapchat was hot at the time. This is like 2015.
Wow.
We're in the Wall Street Journal. We were in TechCrunch. The CNN talking about it. Loads of hype. Two things. One, it's not a good way to recruit. Like we had people who could juggle but couldn't necessarily pour a drink, right? So just because Snapchat is 15 seconds, whatever was the time, so it wasn't practical. And the second thing was, you'd say, oh yeah, that was the bar recruited people to Snapchat. But like, would it make you want to go there to try their burger or their fried chicken or it's not particularly relevant to that. So we got attention, but it didn't really convert for us because it just wasn't. It was just noise.
But I think if it was sustained, I mean, I don't know. I've got a slight pushback. I mean, if you think about the early days of BrewDog or someone like that, I don't know if that's a great example. I think if you're the kind of brand that's like consistently doing things like that, you do become a bit of a sort of cultural entity.
You do. The only thing is it would only work if the scale in the background. And what I mean by that is that like it's exhausting. Like it takes all of your time, and so that's why we actually we do very little social media in Sober Lane, and part of it is thankfully we're quite busy, and we just decided to really concentrate on our product. So I'm confident that if you come in here, our food is really good. We're gonna have a good time. It's a nice atmosphere, and we, as I said, we don't neglect marketing. Email marketing has been very good to us. We're exploring WhatsApp business. We did a nice photo shoot 2 weeks ago, and that will do us with social media content for the next few months. Silly things. We're messing around with somebody gave my kids a board game, and there was a pair of goggles that invert your vision in it. There's an upside down mirror or something in it. And so we'd go as of the staff trying to pour a pint of Guinness wearing this, right? Put it up. But I think if it's somebody's birthday, they come in and we make them do that, right? And it's perfect user generated content. And that's probably something that has legs. We get somebody to do it every day, and there's a Hall of Fame. And
nice.
I don't speak Irish. It's our national language in Ireland, and so we're going to start printing our menus in English and Irish. It's going to be both, so somebody doesn't speak it in one mind. But we put it up online that we're going to do it. What people think, got good reaction.
Of course.
And then people said, I'll help you translate the menu. And it's funny, a lot of different, and the ChatGPT and Claude translations of the menu were way off. Lots of made up words. It's very interesting. But that's something that probably has legs. So we will continue to put our menus in Irish. They're starting next week, I think. They're going to the printers. And that there is a point of difference there. It's not massive.
Well, again, you're taking the product as the marketing. You're not just doing a few Instagram posts in Irish. And you're actually going more central on that.
Yeah, it correlates to the real product. But I think that the attention marketing thing has kind of had its I would, when I do indulge in Instagram twice a month, whatever it is, right? I'll follow every bar that has a nice looking cocktail video, and they splash the but I don't even know where they are. No desire to go to them. I just think that's a nice video of a cocktail. And maybe because I have a competing bar, or maybe because I'm out there looking for social media ideas, I'm not the target market. Now, we talked about the funnel. I think somebody says, oh, that's a nice cocktail recipe. And then at the other end, you're buying your bottle of gin or whiskey. But I think that the gap in between, the messy middle, as you said, has never been longer. It has never been. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's quite possibly true. One last kind of topic to chat about before I'll let you go. What do you think the impact of AI is currently and going to be on marketing as you see it currently?
Is
it having an impact now on your marketing in any way?
Probably. It's funny, we work with a designer, and we probably are. It's funny, I say we're sending him less stuff. I'm not so sure we are. We're sending him different, meatier stuff. Converting the menu to Irish is a tricky thing that has to be proofed. And then there's allergens, and so you've got to make sure not only would it be embarrassing to have the wrong word in it, but if somebody has eggs and they have an eggs allergy, there's other things around it. But in the same breath, I'd run off a poster saying €5 chicken goujons tonight if Brazil win the soccer, whatever the promotion is, right? Now, it wouldn't have been worth doing that disposable promo. So we just probably wouldn't have done it, or we would have done it on a blackboard in the bar.
Yeah.
Whereas now I have it up. So I don't think I'm giving him any less work. It's just meant that the bar for doing something like that is, I call them posters, but like a virtual post, right? A graphic.
I know what you mean.
Marketing has become more disposable in that way, and in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can do more of it.
You could do more of it. Yeah, so I certainly use it personally to get through more work, I think. But yeah,
I mean, that's the big conversation that's happening around it. You know, do businesses save time and money and give their designer less work because of it, or do they get more done because of it? And most businesses do take the opportunity to get more done and grow because of it, rather than cutting hours of the people who do the really good stuff.
I sell physical products, right? Be it from casks of whiskey to bottles of whiskey to shots of whiskey. 3 businesses, just 3 different measures of whiskey, really, right? And I will sell you whiskey in I'll fill your hat with it if you want, right? Any quantity of whiskey you want, that is what I do. But there's a few things that's funny. Like I've always thought, like even, I suppose I've been through this before with e-commerce, when e-commerce was going to place everything and there was going to be no shops. You can't get a haircut or buy a pint of Guinness online, right? And even Guinness have tried. You know, they've had the nitro cans and whatever else. It hasn't changed our core offering that much, really. We're probably one of the more resilient ones to it, I would hope. I'm in an industry that has a bit of a moat around it for now. And I find that definitely there's more help than hindrance in the AI stuff. But in general, hospitality, I think it's affecting from rising costs and people's diminishing spend. I don't think their desire to go out more is reduced. I think their budget to go out more is reduced, and the cost of delivering it from our side is increased, which is unhelpful. But I don't think people dislike the offering. I think that they are just challenged to do it as often as they'd like. That's solvable though. Costs will equalize, inflation will slow down, wages will catch up. As long as their offering is good, they will come back or come more often. Whereas if they don't like the offering, that is that's a societal shift. That is a harder one to shift.
Yeah, no, true. Look, Ernest, it's been really interesting talking to you. I could talk to you all day about this stuff, honestly. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. One last question for you. Give me, in the most succinct, packaged way possible, 3 or so, your handful of top tips for building attention and awareness around a product or service.
I do think for me, not taking yourself too seriously. I get luxury brands and Black Emerald might be perceived that way, but I think taking yourself too seriously definitely just doesn't resonate with people. It just comes across as phony. Or I don't mean things need to be funny or forced humor, but I just think that things can be casual. We chatted earlier about that tension between ready versus perfect and the marketer's, desire to never fail and have everything. But I think it's better to have something out there than not in general. And I suppose that's the second one. Is what do they say? Some of it on the truck versus all of it in the warehouse. You know what I mean? I think just you and I think we chat about AI. You could tweak something. You could have 100 iterations until it's absolutely perfect. But really, like, that marginal gain doesn't matter. Just get it out there. And when we talked about disposal marketing, has never been easier. The cost of doing a promotion and design is so much reduced now. Even if it's only to win a handful of customers, it is now like economically viable to do that.
You're absolutely right. Okay, cool. Thank you. Where can people find and connect with you online?
LinkedIn, honestly, is the only kind of platform that I really use. As I said, I do post there quite a lot, and I find it to be a valuable tool, to be fair.
Yeah, cool. Well, Ernest, thanks so much for your time. Massively appreciate it, and hope to chat to you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you all.
See ya.